Hi, everybody, and welcome to session 2 of Assessing Learning. I'm going to quickly grab, I'm going to quickly grab under grades. I'm going to grab the checklist for this session and take a quick look at it. Okay, so we've got a number of readings. We've got a welcome video. We're going to look at the course plan. We will have an optional course meeting later in the session. And there's some resources, there's a discussion. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put that to the side. And let's go ahead and take a look inside of the session. There's just basically 2 pages. First, we'll look at the welcome page where we will get oriented to what is going on. We're going to look at the course plan. You can read the module objectives. We're going to cover most of what these say, but I suggest that you read them on your own, and let's look at the course plan and see what this module is about. All right, so we've got a 4-week session. So this is a little irregular, right? This class doesn't have just like a regularity where the sessions are all the same amount of time. The last session was 2 weeks. This session's 4 weeks. The one that follows will be 2. The one that follows that will be 4. So you have to be a little bit careful with a 4-week session, although I haven't seen students having a big problem with it. But you know, time can get out of your hands. You know, you've got to make sure you're kind of achieving what you need to. We do have a bit of reading in this session. I'll talk about that in a minute. And there's 2 things that you want to have come out at the end. One is assignment 2, assessment plan. That's where you locate a client and you come up with a plan of assessment related to their use of technology, in the context of having students complete a performance assessment in their class, in the class. There's also a 1-week discussion at the end of the session. So here in that last week, the end of September, the beginning of October, we'll have a 1-week discussion in there. And then the end of the 2nd week, we have an optional online meeting on a Sunday evening. Okay, so that's what we've got for course plan. I do recommend that as you enter assignment 2, that before you go courting a client and trying to get someone to work with you on this, you've got to have read also assignment 3. Basically, the reason why is because the word plan makes it sound like you're not doing anything real, right? You're just planning something, but sometimes we make plans that we don't implement. Well, this plan is going to be implemented, and so assignment 3 is all about you reporting on that implementation. And that's why you've got to kind of be well versed in both before you go talk to a client who thinks that they're not really having to do much. You will be working with them to implement a technology enhanced performance assessment where you've designed the rubrics. For example, the assessment instruments, they're most often a rubric is a good type of instrument to use. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, read both of those as you go into assignment 2. That's kind of the first thing you want to do. I know you've probably already done that because I've been telling you to do that. I said do that during that long session 0, read the assignments, but it's time to reread them and just kind of make sure you have kind of an understanding of what's going on with those. Okay, so moving on then to our 1 session 2 activities page. I kind of give you an overview of how you could chunk out the 4 weeks of this session. And I've kind of already said, read those instructions first thing. Okay. Basically, you're going to be coaching another educator in the planning and implementation of a rich learning experiences designed toward clear and meaningful assessments. You're going to be working with them to create the measurement instrument. You're going to be sort of thinking about what kinds of artifacts do you expect from students for their performance assessment. So that's part of what you're going to provide in the plan, is just kind of a prediction almost of like what you expect based on the instructions that you provide students. Again, it's a long module, so here's kind of what I say. Let's see, first week, read the assignment, kind of read the readings that are below on the page, and think a little bit. You know, give yourself some time to think, because sometimes I think that we take our online classes, sometimes we don't give them the time they need, and we don't have time to think, and that's actually really important that you do have that time. time to start soliciting someone to coach, maybe around the end of week 1, starting week 2. I want maybe by the end of week 2, set that goal to go pester a couple people that you know that could be coaches for you, or that you could coach. Sorry, you're the coach, they're the client, and see if you can, and kind of begin to lock that down. The last 2 to 3 weeks should be focused on securing that client, discussing their learners' needs, and creating an assessment plan for instruction to be implemented before Thanksgiving. If we look at the course plan, I say before Thanksgiving, and even that's misleading because you really want to have it done a week before Thanksgiving if you meet all course deadlines. So let me talk about that for just a second. Try to aim for the deadlines in the course plan. It will be good for you to try to do that. What I mean by that is you want your client, right? If you're going to be turning in the assessment implementation, that's where you report on them actually doing this thing in their classroom that you've planned out in assignment 2. And here, assessment implementation is the report of that plan. Well, ideally, they're going to have it done by the end of that week, right? The November 4 to November 10 week, so that you then have this week to write your plan. So aim for that, okay? Because it's so hard. It can get tricky, right? With a client, with the crazy things that happen in school schedules, for example, or in work schedules. Things come up and you might have to delay. And so if a delay is necessary, then conceivably the client could implement this week, and then you could just turn in your assignment 3 plan late. You could take the Thanksgiving break of November 25 through 29. Oh, right. Hang on a second. Anyway, my point is I'm kind of getting confused about the schedule, but aim for this because there is time built in to where, worst case, you do take that Thanksgiving break to write your plan. What we don't want to have happen is for you to wait for the week after Thanksgiving for your client to implement, because then you're really scrambling, closer to the end. While I'm trying to get the final grading done, you're scrambling still to write your report. So as you read about assignment 3, be looking at these timetables and be kind of thinking by when you would like to see that client try this thing. Okay, so when you go in to talk to your client, it's actually important that you talk about when you're going to do this, approximately. They may not be able to tell you the exact day, but maybe they can give you a 10-day window, a 10 to 15-day window, which I know sounds like a broad window, but sometimes you don't always know when you can do a thing in your classroom as you know, in a K-12 setting. Excuse me. So do be thinking schedule when you go approach your client. Okay, so we have a lot of readings in this session, just a big pile. And the thing about this book is that it's a really great book, but you might not need everything in it. So I recommend that you kind of flip through, take a look at the assessment strategies, the chapter on thinking skills, how you assess actions, various strategies for that, skills for living in the world, and multi-purpose assessments. Go read through that, and then once you've kind of locked down with your client, who's going to be a specific setting with specific needs, you can actually come back and drill down into specific strategies and tools that you might want to use for your project. The appendices of the Greenstein textbook also contain sample rubrics and lesson plans that could be useful. We've got a couple of other readings on differentiated technology enhanced learning, and now getting to the assignment. I'd like for you to submit your assessment plan by the end of this session. Worst case scenario by Sunday, October 13th. That's a week into the following session. Excuse me. You will be providing, if you're in K-12 and you are seeking IT certification, then you will need to work with a Georgia certified educator, and you will be providing their certification ID for this project. In addition to that, we faculty will communicate through email with your client. So specifically, I will email your client probably in December, probably around December 5th or December 10th or something, and follow up with a survey that where we ask how the project went. Clients are usually very positive, and I don't think anybody's going to try to tank you on that. And it's not tied to your grade. It's actually tied to program assessment, and generally I don't look at it immediately anyway. So I'm trying to think. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't even think that the clients put specific names into the survey now that I think about it. Um, they could we could track it back. I'm trying not to. I don't want to dwell on this too much. I'm trying to tell you that you don't have anything to worry about. It's good to be a professional with your client. I know that you will be, but I also want to be very clear that we do follow up with them in terms of for our own program assessment and for making the program better. We look at that data once a year, usually in August of every year during our closing the loop assessment, analysis, and planning. Okay, so discussion. So during the last week of the session, we've got a discussion on assessment planning. It's a 1+2 discussion. Actually, is it the last week? Let me double check. Yes, it is. It's the second week that has the optional live meeting. The last week has the discussion. And I need to make sure that this is linked properly. Those dates don't look right on that. So it's 1+2, so you're going to make an initial post and 2 follow-ups. The discussion board will be open 3 days before the discussion window and 3 days after. All right, so that is session 2. Let me know if there's anything you need to talk about. I know that it's a lot in a way, and it is a lot partly because it's 4 weeks long, but I also think that you'll find that once you kind of get into that project that you'll find a focus and a way forward through all of the resources and where you want to go with your client. All right, thank you so much.